Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan. It's just me today. Miska is on an internship at the moment. Really isn't going to change too much when it comes to future content. It's just for a couple of weeks and stuff. But of course, in typical ironic fashion, as soon as I'm on my own, we get hit with not only a new patch, but a lot of new information. Patch 1.12 is out. The patch notes are available for you all to see. But the main focus is going to be the new skin set, which is Ion. You've seen the trailer in the background. But let's look at one of the skins and all of the kill animations to reload in all of its glory. Forged at the edge of darkness and revered for its power, humanity's last hope is in your hands with Ion. In this weapon bundle, you can get the Phantom, the Sheriff, the Operator, the Bucky, and the Melee. And the full bundle costs 7100 VP. Just to add, we are doing a giveaway for 8000 VP, so you could get this skin set if you really want it. You could save up that money to spend on the battle passes, to get the new agents, to get, I don't know, the Elder Flame Vandal because you didn't get it before. If you are interested, all of the details are in the description and comments. It's through the gleam.io link, and it's basically to follow me, Miska, and the HitScan account on Twitter, basically. Of course, in the bundle, you will get a player card, a spray, a gun buddy, and a melee, which I really like. I like this skins set quite a lot. I don't know if it's gonna have me replace the Oni Phantom, to be honest. I love it so much, but this is very much a close second. If you're into the sci-fi stuff, playing games like Destiny or even stuff like Warframe, this is a really nice sleek set, and the kill animation is just so good. We have been spoilt with stuff like this in Reaver only a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of amazing with all of the content changes coming to VALORANT, which I'll talk about very shortly, that the skin set's still coming out are very much top tier as expected. Yet again, the cosmetic teams have blown my mind at least, and I'm curious if you guys are super interested in it or whether you would have preferred another Guardian skin. Do let me know. But let's talk about the patch. There's no agent or weapon changes in this patch at all. In fact, a lot of stuff is quality of life and clearly in preparation to First Strike finals, which are coming up very shortly, and some of the qualifiers have even finished, which we'll talk about towards the end of this video. Also, as an addition, it's very likely that the next patch that we should be expecting in 2 weeks' time today, that there's not going to be anything happening. And in fact, the next meaningful patch that's going to come in will be around December the 8th, which is after First Strike. So maybe we'll get more balance changes then. A lot of changes, I would imagine, before we really get into the holiday season. So these next couple of weeks are going to be relatively quiet. Just bear that in mind. But in regards to some of the changes in here, ranked badges are disabled in-game whilst they investigate a potential issue where they are the cause of the performance hitches, the micro stutters in-game. Your Act rank badge will still display competitive lobbies and at the end of game screen. Really interesting that that might be the reason why it may break, but it's still kind of crazy that we haven't had a proper fix for the micro stutters in game. I've been lucky enough to not be impacted by it at all at this point, but just having it once can clearly ruin a game for you and put you off playing. There's been a lot of changes to observing. They did a change where they had team color changes when you would change half. So the red team is usually the attackers, right? This change would mean that the red team would become the defenders in the second half. It was super confusing, and there were a few bugs in the UI elements like I'm showing you on screen where the red team got the kills, but it shows up in the kill feed as the green team, and that the green team won. You know, it's complicated for me to even explain it, so imagine trying to watch the top teams in VALORANT play with a patch like that. So I'm glad that they reverted it, and it seems that they're going to hold back on it until they finish adding support for custom team colors, which would be cool. Seeing Cloud9 playing Sky Blue, for example, that's stuff that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And other than that, they've redesigned the open close party tool, so it's a little bit sleeker. And if you're observing a game, you could see the agent select screen as opposed to, in some cases, just a white screen. I'm curious on what you guys think in the comments below, because this is a very small patch. I think most of you could gather that with no balance or game changes in there really. It's mostly just quality of life stuff and observer changes for First Strike. But we knew that it was going to be small, because the devs actually said this in a recent Ask VALORANT. This came from Riley Yerk, who is the VALORANT esports strategy, and they said that patch 1.12 which would drop midway through first strike, which is now, is going to be light in order to minimize potential disruption. But this is the key thing, and this is the thing that I think I need to call Riot out on because it was a bit of a mistake. To account for all of this, the Valorant dev team front-loaded a lot more than usual amount of content into patch 1.1 and released a map earlier than planned. All of this led to an unstable experience, and ultimately the patch, which came out in 2 weeks, was rolled back because it literally came out in the middle of NA qualifiers for First Strike. But it was the fact that they front-loaded a load of these changes that I have the biggest problem with. We knew that Breach was getting buffed, and we knew that Killjoy and Cypher were getting changes with Killjoy's utility not working when he dies, and Killjoy having to be a lot closer to a turret and alarm bot for it to actually work. But it was more the undocumented changes that I think caused problems. You've got Breach getting multiple buffs, with his footline charging faster, his ultimate and footline going a little bit further away from him. It's important changes that weren't highlighted, as well as another nerf to Cypher, where he can't take his tripwires into the next round with him, which I think is a pretty big change. Dropping that in the middle of a period like this clearly changes up how the esports teams play, especially with the majority of teams in NA playing Cypher over Killjoy. These changes might make that decision to be more Killjoy based than Cypher, but it was dropped on these players as we're about to head into the biggest tournament that have played so far in Valorant. It's something that I think Riot aren't necessarily going to do ever again. They know that it's a mistake they're owning up to it here, but I still think it's worth calling out because even for us that are playing ranked, we've had a lot of stability issues. And this was another thing that Anna, a senior producer, talked about in the Ask Valorant post. Patch stability's been really bad these days, what's going on? And he said, honestly, we could do with slowing down a little bit. We've been rigorously keeping up with a 2-week patch cadence, even before we started closed beta, but it's time to take a breath, take stock of what we need to do internally to make sure that our efforts are sustainable and hitting the quality bar that you, our players, deserve. Riot know that they kind of screwed up here with patch 1.11, but it's still an area that I hope that they look at, and it's one of the reasons why we're not getting a patch in 2 weeks, that we have to wait until December after First Strike to see what other changes may come through, which I honestly prefer. I think Riot can keep to their 2-week patch cadence, especially when they're putting out skins like today with them. I don't think people are going to be too upset by that, but it's more they have to pick the right opportunities to put out these patch changes. I honestly would have preferred to see the Killjoy buffs or nerfs, whatever you consider them, the Cypher nerfs and the Breach buffs, out after First Strike, because these are such key changes, and with the team scrimming certain compositions and certain agents and then dropping this on them, I don't think it's inherently fair. I do also think it's worth talking about Icebox in this fashion too, because this was meant to come out in January, but Riot wanted to push out a map sooner because it's been a long time since we've had one, and also with First Strike coming in with a couple of best of 5 games, having 5 maps in the game is going to be super important. But I know a lot of people aren't necessarily happy with the quality of the map. Not so much because of the verticality in the way that it looks or is, but because there's a lot of 50-50 angles within the game. Now, for those that played in the closed beta, you might remember when Haven and Ascent had these problems, and in fact there was a pretty big patch that came in that just put some wooden boxes or some sacks in a corner to make sure that you couldn't run into an area where you have the 50-50 peak and angle, that you can push through Garage and Haven, for example, and do it bit by bit without being caught out. And it was a huge change to the map, and now people consider those maps pretty good at least. I do think this is an area that Icebox needs a little bit of help on, but because they effectively rushed it out, that doesn't seem to be the priority maybe. But also, the map people have said that they want to put out as many maps as they physically can as soon as possible, which is cool because we definitely need more maps. But I am a little bit worried with them putting out less than stellar maps because they just want to get them out. We really needed an important 5th map, but if you're from Counter-Strike, we didn't need a Vertigo or a Nuke in the game right now. We needed something more straightforward like Mirage, Cache, or even something like Dust 2. But let me know what you think of that in the comments, whether you care or not, certainly when it comes in comparison to the esports scene, which I do want to talk about now. I actually had the opportunity to cast some of the North America region, casting teams like TSM, 100 Thieves, all those cool people, and I did want to do a bit of an update for that region as well as EU, which is currently ongoing this week. In case you didn't know what First Strike was, it's effectively the lead up to a major tournament that's happening in December. This tournament is going to be run by Riot, probably out of the LEC and LCS offices if I was to guess, but it's happening in all of the major regions. For NA, 8 teams will qualify to those finals in December, and 4 have already done so. Those teams are Sentinels, to nobody's surprise, 100 Thieves, which was pretty cool, Envy, and Renegades beat Cloud9 to get there. Now, there is other qualifiers happening which start this week with UMG, where the other 4 teams will qualify for that tournament in December. So be sure to keep up with all of that. I will be casting a couple of community games, I think, so if you want to follow along with what I'm doing, definitely just follow my Twitter and I'll be able to tweet out what games are happening. But I was interested in doing a video potentially about 100 Thieves and Hiko because he was clutching out like crazy in that tournament. Literally was in 120 clutches, which is ridiculous. But also, as I mentioned, EU is happening right now. None of the games are being broadcasted. You're going to have to wait until the weekend to see the better teams play. But it's a similar thing. They're all trying to get through to these qualifiers to play the big event in December, where each of the regions has a chance of winning $100,000. So some pretty big money on the line, and a Riot ran tournament should be super cool to check out. But that's everything that I wanted to go in this video. We have the really cool skin set. We have honestly a lot of issues that Riot have had with this patch and the previous patch, but it looks like they're responding to at least making it a little bit better. And, you know, just finishing on First Strike because I care a lot about it, and I do hope that some of you guys that are just more interested in the casual side would be interested in getting into the esports scene, because I think it's pretty cool, and I think you should, honestly. But thanks for watching, take care, and have a good day. See you soon.